All right, team, welcome back to the Second Chance Podcast. Today, we're joined by Tim Thomas, a former Special Forces operator turned mental health advocate and wellness innovator. After facing near death experiences, PTSD, chronic pain, and personal challenges like divorce, financial loss, Tim has not only rebuilt his life, but also created some of Australia's most impactful veteran recovery programs. He's the founder of Breathwork in Bed app, or the Breathwork in Bed app, recently approved by Google and Apple, which focuses on improving sleep, a cornerstone of recovery and wellness. Tim's journey is a testament to the power of resilience, connection, and transformation. He's here to share his incredible story and the lessons he's learned along the way. Tim, I'm excited. You walk right into a lot of things that I'm passionate about in mental health, our public safety, and our military, and all those folks that have. I tell you this, Tim, people who've worked night shift at the gas station that have interrupted their sleep patterns, right? Just people that we know, man. You walk right into the middle of when I'm kind of surrounded in that network. So I'm excited to hear more about what you do.
I'm very excited to share, and part of what I do, and I'm very, very sure that we're going to have a positive and powerful experience.
Yeah.
But my goal for everyone I interact with is permanency. So something that they can take home and action straight away. And at the end of this, Jeff and I were talking, we're going to take a bit of time at the end of this for you to be able to, we're going to do a little breath work technique that's going to completely relax your body and mind in 3 breaths. So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, don't skip ahead. I know what you're thinking right now. I know what everyone's thinking. I'll just skip ahead and get to the
I
good
will.
part. Well, listen, we got to tell you why it's valuable. Because the old adage of, hey, I'll have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead and gone. If you don't find the right amount of sleep, it will pull you out of here faster than what you realize. I told you, my friend Rob Sweeten, crap, what did I tell you? Oh, Rob's last name. I wanted to
It
call
was
him
an S, I
Sweetman.
think.
Sweetman. Yeah, I
Yep.
said it right. Rob Sweetman. I was researching another Sweetenberg earlier, and my sweets are all jacked up. Probably had some chocolate too. But Rob had coined that one time, and I heard him had said that as well, man. And so I think, folks, if you're running on not a lot of sleep, or you're like, oh yeah, I only need a couple hours a night. Tim's probably going to give us some reasons why we shouldn't. So make sure you listen to this part of it because this is where the horsepower will kick in.
Sure, absolutely. So, when we're on deployment, so my background is Australian Special Forces,
Yep.
and when we're on deployment in Afghanistan, one thing we used to weaponize was sleep. So
Yeah.
we would target our enemy's sleep because we knew that if we took someone's sleep out for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet.
Yeah.
And I come back to the country I love, and there's so many people not sleeping well. It's like they're being attacked. And there's no, obvious enemy, but it's like our busy Western lifestyle is attacking us and denying us quality rest. And the whole idea is when you attack someone's quality rest, they become off-centered. They are no longer sovereign individuals that can think their own thoughts and take their own actions. When someone's off-centered and fatigued, all of a sudden they're very suggestible to external factors. It could be, oh, for me to feel good about myself, I need a certain pair of shoes. Or I could be easily impacted when I'm driving in traffic. I knew, when I was fatigued, I would be this road raging person in traffic because I was no longer sovereign. All these people were crossing my imaginary boundaries because I was in a state of fatigue. And so it's not until people really get to rock bottom that they start realizing that sleep is the soil from which everything grows. And you mentioned about how I created some very successful veteran programs. My programs were successful, Jeff, because the success was measured in how much the quality of sleep improved. And I noticed that hang on, I have to get rid of this call. I noticed that if you could improve someone's sleep, everything improved. And I'm dyslexic. I see things in patterns. And what I saw was everyone has everything they need inside of themselves, but if they're fatigued, it's like they can't see their own value. It's like they have to look for value outside of themselves. And our consumer society loves that because, hey, I'll sell you this and I'll sell you that. And maybe if I have enough stuff, then I'll feel good and content about myself. You know what I mean? So I believe
Yeah.
sleep is the sort of cornerstone of self, seeing your own value, having your own sovereignty, and living a life where, you can be happy to be yourself and a generous person.
I I didn't dive into this. Doing public safety, we was always I had a hard time getting up at night when I was younger. But then we worked shift work. You worked as a 911 operator, and we worked 12-hour shifts, 7 p to 7 a, or vice versa. Um, and then you would do that no more than 3 days, and then you were back off. So you were going 3 days of darkness, 3 days of light type stuff. And we went through that for years. And I remember I had, after my active public safety days had ended, I was still training with the fire department guys. Um, and one of the big push in the room was just on um, the 24-hour shifts, the overnight stays, the turnaround time, the amount of those sleepless nights that the guys and ladies in the firehouse were getting. Um, Repetitively, and how some of them would, like, the one guy had told a story. He's like, I got home, and I get off shift, I get in my car, I drive home, and he goes, we'd moved out of that house 5 years ago. He said I woke up in my old driveway, just from the fatigue from sleep deprivation, and on a job that has been that gets heroed for being up all night,
Yeah,
rescuing and putting the fire out and doing a thing, right? And
yeah,
so some of
and
the stories that are coming out of that world.
and I do want to salute the men and women out there doing what they need to do, because there is a time to muscle up and get the job done. This country was made great by that. But if you are always pushing yourself, and you don't know how to actually relax, rest, recovery, restore, if you don't know how to activate what's called the PNS, parasympathetic nervous center, okay, which is basically the body's brake. Because what you guys did and what my guys did was we got taught how to throttle up, go hard, go hard, go hard. There's always more in the tank. But you weren't taught how to hit the brakes, how to slow everything
Yeah.
down. And that's a real shame, because my my access to the wellness space isn't from, wanting to uh, eat tofu and celery juice and sit on a mountaintop. I want to perform for the rest of my life. But the way I explain it to people, Jeff, is think of performance like a pyramid. At the top, you're working hard, you're making bank, you're hitting your targets. But then at the bottom of the pyramid is your rest, recovery, and healing art forms. And when we're in the job that we do, everyone's talking about the top of the pyramid. No one's putting any value on the bottom of the pyramid until usually something terrible happens, or they can see a tangible benefit to those wellness programs, a financial benefit. And so what I really encourage people to do is, if and this is coming from a guy that everyone told me I was too old at 30 to join the special forces, right? And I understood this performance pyramid. I knew I wasn't as young, fit, fast, or as strong as these younger guys, but I knew what rest and recovery was, and I developed my body to understand that. So as the time went on, I got stronger because I would rest, recover, and heal. And what happens is, if you understand this performance pyramid, you can perform at the top, and then you sort of slingshot down into your rest recovery, and then you slingshot back up. So you're doing these ones. You're going into both worlds with velocity. But what most people do in the Western world, Jeff, is they hit the top of the performance. They're doing this. They're making the bank. They're getting the affirmations from everyone else saying you're awesome. Heck, we got medals for doing it, right?
Yeah.
And life, and eventually fatigue, and life just becomes this shit-eating competition. Because I look at that guy. He did, 8 days of 12 hours of eating shit. He's a hero. but
Yeah.
it's not a happy place to live. Um, and I don't think enough people talk about what it is to truly rest, recover, and heal yourself. Give yourself what you heal. Because when I asked for help, when I said I couldn't sleep, the doctor gave me half a pharmacy, half a drugstore, and I lost 6 years of my life to these pills. I was a zombified pill eater.
Yeah.
And people ask me why I'm so passionate about breath work is because before, if I knew before I lost that 6 years of my life, and I can't get that back, if I knew that breath work could relax my body and mind, heal my body, I've got a lot of chronic injuries going on here. And this is why I was so passionate to get on your show, Jeff, because it's what we're going to cover today will be another tool in the belt of all those people that want to, perform through their lifespan, but also know what it is to truly rest, recover, and heal themselves.
Yeah. Big deal. It's a big part of it that gets overlooked. And I'll tell you, folks, if you know, that high pressure situation, we're going to get into some of Tim's background here, but just in SWAT or tactics and things I got to experience is the ability to get the box breathing and working through just basic breath work. As you feel that moment of anxiety or that whatever, you find you if you pay attention, you're reaching for that next breath. As it hits you, you're having to inhale to just get reflective on it. But if you can be self-aware of that to where you just consciously inhale slowly, hold slowly, and work it through. I've taught my kids how to do this, and I told them, I'm like, if once you get it, you can in a pressure situation, you can watch time slow down.
There you
Everything
go.
else is just moving so fast, and you see it tactics or things that you're doing from and like in your case as a special forces operator, if you can get your breath work down when all the chaos is just kind of going crazy and things are so sped up, you can literally watch time slow down as you're methodically moving through it. Tell
No, you're
me,
absolutely right. For
tell
thousands,
us,
thousands of years, Chinese have been saying, control your breath, control everything.
yeah,
And we sort of stepped over that because no one can make money from it.
yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off, Jeff. I cut you off.
No,
Please
no,
continue on.
you're right on. I was just going to get you to tell us a little bit about your background and we've had PTSD, you've got personal loss layered in there, and obviously these are some of the powerful moments that help. Maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's what I'm kind of figuring is like that's your whole mission was born out of that situations. Can you tell us all more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
you and kind of what set you off on this path here?
Well, when I look back on it, Jeff, all the shittiest things that happened to me, they were the things that added the most value to
Yeah.
me as and to others. So I grew up with dyslexia, but back in the 70s, the technical term was you're stupid. And you
Yeah.
tell a kid that enough and they start believing it. And I'm like, okay, the sky is blue and Tim's stupid. And what that really gave me, because I started doing IQ tests in my mid 20s and I realized, oh, maybe I'm not as stupid as everyone says, right? And my dyslexia puts me in the top percentile of pattern recognition. And so I recognize that energy is like money in the way that how you invest it is how you get it back. And part of our destiny, I believe, on this earth is to find out what this body of ours can invest energy into that then gives you a massive return.
Yeah.
Now, some people, it might be running, lifting, breathing, walking, stretching. But you've got to find your energetic investment that gives you a massive return that puts you into abundance. And I noticed that every time I did something physical, I felt smarter. And that led me into the early days of UFC. So in Australia, it was called no rules fighting. Wasn't really legal. It was kind of in underground biker bars. The rules meeting beforehand was righto, fellas, no digit insertion, but everything else goes. And guys were pretty clever. Imagine a guy in mount and there's no digit insertion, but the guy would grab the bloke's skull and drive
Yeah.
his chin into his eye socket.
Yeah.
Like it was that kind of fighting. It was just insane. And
One
and
sport.
a side note, was you could smoke in bars back then. So you're walking into the ring, coughing up half a lung, and somewhere through the smoky haze was the guy you're supposed to punch in the face. Um, but it was really pioneering times, and it was so exciting, to access that part of me, because in training, I'd always feel very awkward, but when a fight came on, something went click, and I felt very at home. Things would slow down, right? And that was good, but it wasn't paying very much, and I wanted to start a family. And then this scheme came in 2004, Australian Military First. It's called DRSF, Direct Recruiting into Special Forces. So they took appropriately screened civilian personnel, and you could do all the basic training, advanced training, and then if you're good enough, you could attempt Special Forces selection. So on the initial intake, I think 5 to 10,000 people applied, 70 were accepted. I was in that 70, and of that 70, I was the oldest allowable age at 30. And everyone, I got the nickname Old Man Tomo. Didn't particularly appreciate it, but there was something to be said about growing up in the 70s and 80s, where if you got beat up at school, that was just a Tuesday. Whatever. You had this toughness that was unspoken, and that really helped. Whereas younger, fitter guys would freak out a bit when the corporal got a bit rough.
Yeah.
So of that 70, less than 15 got through, because the military was very resistant to the idea of people getting in from civilian street. Because up until that time, Jeff, you had to spend 2 years in a regular infantry battalion before you could even apply.
Yeah.
So we were considered queue jumpers. They wanted to stop the scheme. But the best thing that happened to us was Afghanistan, because we proved what that we could do the job just as good as anyone else. And then all of a sudden, people were a fan of the scheme, and it's still going to this day. But
Yeah.
getting out of the special forces, I thought, I'll get a job, I'll be right. Wrong. I had undiagnosed PTSD. Terrible sleep was just normal. If you ask me, I was fine, but I couldn't explain why. I absolutely had to drink half a carton of grog before I spoke to my then wife. And I call her my then wife. I don't call her my ex-wife, because I stand for a positive future. In fact, after this, I'm going to her place to have lunch, because our son is coming back from overseas. So, and I've been looking after her dogs the last few days. So we still get along. It's a testament, going from what it could have been to what it is now.
Yeah.
So if you hear me say then wife, I just mean my
Yeah,
ex-wife.
no, man. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a great way, because no, man, that's a great. She wasn't a problem, right? It's ownership of just your part. Yeah, no, dude, that's a really great way to put that. I'm sure she appreciates it, because she's like, I didn't know how to deal with you.
Oh, look, and it didn't start out like that, but I
We need to do
noticed.
something. We need to do something with the two of you sometime, Tim. Before I forget it, let's think about that down the road for your mission and what you're doing. Let's figure out a time when the three of us can jump on, and she can give her insight as well. Ooh,
That would be interesting, because it certainly didn't start out like this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I just noticed that the more I worked on me, the more the more I had a better chance of getting a positive outcome
yeah.
from outside of
Congratulations.
me.
Yeah, great job.
But within that, and I'll just drop really quickly into this. Family was falling apart. I was going through undiagnosed PTSD, and it was April 2011, and I was about to kill a man. All right, the Australian government wasn't paying me. This would have been murder. And what I'm about to tell you, I gave a speech in Parliament House about. And so at the bottom of my PTSD, I'm like, well, what does somebody do when they feel all messed up in the head? I guess you see a psychologist. And that didn't make any sense to me. Why do I want to see some random stranger I don't trust?
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, this is what people do with broken heads. What am I to know, right? So I'm driving to this place, And this guy wasn't just incompetent. Incompetent I could handle. Apathetic. He just didn't give a crap. And here I am pouring my heart out about all the shit that I saw in service. And at the end of it all, Jeff, he goes, "Oh, you think it was a problem with your mum and dad?" And it was at that moment, Jeff, everything in that room froze. And I became very aware of his glass frame psychology degree behind him. And in my state of disconnect, it made a lot of sense to grab that glass frame and feed it to him, because this guy was supposed to be a healer. And he's not just not healing. He's not just not doing his job. He's causing harm. So time to remove this guy. And I get out of my chair to do this. And then I feel a hand on my chest and the words "red flag." Tim, you are the toughest guy you know. How many other guys are struggling in this system that doesn't seem to want to help and doesn't understand what the hell's going on with you? And then I sat back down, and that's when I saw him, Jeff. I saw him left and right of me. All these people looking inward saying, "Tim, if you can find a way forward for you, you are going to find a way forward for us." And that's what broke my isolation. I discovered in that moment that pain transforms into loneliness without someone knowing. And in my lonely, isolated state, I could justify killing a man. And that made sense when I'm alone and isolated. But when I saw all those other people stuck in the same situation as me, that's when I said, look, it doesn't matter if it takes me a week, a month, a year, a decade. I've got to find a way forward, because I'm pretty sure if it takes me a decade, that's the amount of time I'm going to save all these other people. So it's not just me going forward, it's all these people going forward. And I really want, yourself and everyone listening to draw themselves into a question. My pathway into this realization was through the veteran path, but everyone's up against something. It could be breast cancer, it could be a relationship, it could be something, you're up against something. And the golden question to ask oneself, and this is a real question that needs a real answer: how many other people are in your situation right now? And give it a genuine number. It could be 10, it could be 100, it could be 1,000,000. And whatever number that is, you are no longer, 1 in 10, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000,000. You are 10 in 1. You are 1,000,000 in 1. So as you get healing, there's 1,000,000 of you getting healing. As you take that one small, powerful action forward, there's 1,000,000 of you doing that.
All right. Just because I'm curious, how did it end with the doctor?
Well, it's a bit like you see your hand in your face. When you look past it, you can see through it.
Yeah,
I just saw straight through him.
that's good.
And he disappeared as a concern. Once I connected to all those people that were hurting,
Yep.
then that broke my isolation, and I could essentially become a human again. And that moment, I had this goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide, because in Australia, we've lost about 40 lives in Afghanistan to bombs and bullets, but 20 to 30 times that amount to suicide. It's a real thing, right? We've all been touched by it. And I thought, well, if I can save 40 veteran lives from suicide, I'm going to die happy. I don't care if it takes me the rest of my life. But being dyslexic, I saw a pattern that it's not the pain, it's the isolation. Pain, it doesn't matter if it's physical or emotional. It'll get to a certain duration or intensity where the person experiencing it, it transforms without them even knowing into pain, loneliness, and isolation. I can't share this with anybody because it'll just hurt them. And us men especially, we've got these unspoken words inside our hearts, and we're just waiting for another man who has walked that path to speak those words. Because those unspoken words around our heart, they turn into rocks. And this is where, when you speak those words and you break the isolations, your words can literally split rocks in half, and people can feel again. And I noticed when I really spoke the truth of authenticity and my experience, in that veteran space, and everyone who's gone through something has the qualification. My qualification was just the veteran space. I would see the jaw of the people listening, it would would kind of pop open, right? And they'd say words like, fuck, I thought I was the only one. And that is the beginning of healing, and understanding that whatever you're going through, if you get through it, you are actually qualified to break the isolation of those people in that situation. I can't speak to people with breast cancer, but people who have gone through that can. And if we're connected humans, there's nothing we can't handle. Like, Jeff, if you knew I had your back 100 freaking percent, right? And I know you had my back 100 freaking percent, like, fuck me, everything else is a very small detail. Conversely, and that's the power of human connection. We're built for it, right? But, pain, hurt can often put blockages in the way. But if I'm feeling alone and isolated, everything's a threat because everything is a threat. No one's got my back. I can't drop my guard for a second. And because if I do drop my guard, something bad's going to happen. It's going to be my fault. And it's worse if I'm around people that are relaxed, because if something bad happens, they're not even going to see it. I have to be alert for them as well. And so that goal of saving 40 veteran lives from suicide was achieved within 1 year, because all I did was break isolation and then understand that because you're feeling isolated and alone, you're in fatigue. So breaking isolation, getting people out of fatigue, it's like this golden compass would automatically start spinning inside of them, and they knew exactly where to go. And all they needed was the shit removed from that golden compass, which was feeling alone and isolated and feeling fatigued. And then they're like, boom, they've got 99% of everything they need in them.
This is what takes you into your veteran mental health recovery programs. Am I right? Is that where
Yeah. Yep.
this ultimately is what tees you up to go work inside of that? Keep going. I
Yeah.
wanted to know more about that. Well, obviously, I know what motivated you to start this work. Um, what year did this all kind of take off for you?
Sure. So it took off between 2014 and 2015,
Yeah, good.
when I started working at a veteran charity. I was just relieving. I was a personal trainer. I was relieving somebody working there, but there was no one coming in. And I noticed the people that came in sort of would scuttle in and scuttle out like they were ashamed to be there. Um, and I'm getting paid to be there, and I don't like doing nothing. So I just went into the office ladies and said, look, there's no one here. Is there anyone I can call? And they said, yeah, sure. And I just started calling people, and cold calling someone with PTSD, you have to be ready,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, but I just held space, and I noticed that if you could wear it for 15 minutes, it's like you couldn't get them off the phone after 45 minutes, right? If you could genuinely hold clean space. And I realized that people would start coming in, but I can't have them just coming in for me. I need them to have, because I'm only just one person. The numbers will stop at a certain level if it's just dependent on me. So I started these groups where veterans would come in, and I would set it up in such a way where our natural sequence of being would allow a person to feel like they could be themselves, essentially. So I would set up these gatherings about sunset, and the colors of, and to be outside, and the colors of the sunset would happen. And just as the sun was going down, I'd start a fire, and people would naturally stand around the fire. And it's like everyone started bonding together. They felt safe, they felt connected, and then we'd all sit down after a nice meal, and I'd interview somebody, and I'd just get a regular person to share their life. And it was amazing where you'd have these jaw drop moments and people saying, I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
Now, I was fortunate in that space to have to be able to create activities for them to go into, because where a lot of people get unstuck here, Jeff, is it's very powerful breaking isolation. But what ends up happening, especially in the veteran space, is we create these antisocial social groups. I can talk about all this crap that I've been through with people that understand, but that becomes this isolated shell, and I can't be myself anywhere else.
Yeah.
So my idea was to treat it like a trampoline, go in and leave with more energy. So I was fortunate enough to be trusted with a small amount of resources to then create programs for them to feel trust. Because there's a few things that stop people getting healing. So when you're locked down in PTSD, it's really hard to do anything new because
Yeah.
the trauma locks your brain into what you already know. So to do anything new, it's really, really hard. And think of your mind like a garden. Whatever you water grows. And for years, you water the weeds of stress, and they'll grow and grow and grow to a point where eyeballs pop out of them and they become sentient. And those sentient stress weeds are very aware of the things that feed them and the things that starve them. And if these veterans, because we had a 90% non attendance rate to these programs, and I flipped that number on its head because I understood this. About 3 days before a program, all these people would call up and cancel because these sentient stress weeds would know that something positive is about to come into their life and would kick out the stress weeds. So these stress weeds are like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to wreck your sleep. And even if they do attend, they're so fatigued that there's nothing to work with. So I observed that those, let's call them sentient stress weeds, were placated and relaxed when you just called up the guy, had a friendly conversation, and he knew that the distance between their door and the door of the center, they were traveling with, oh, there's someone I know on that side. And that emotional connection, that trust, negated the emotional overreaction. And all these things aren't on the spreadsheet. And my understanding of that alchemy allowed me to turn a 90% non-attendance to a 90% attendance. And the people that did attend, they weren't turning up fatigued, they were turning up energized. And I had energy capital to work with. I was working with clay, not working with shit.
Right.
And so before, it's what happens before the event, and understanding how a really stressed out, traumatized mind will self-sabotage, and then getting them to that actual event, you've got a much higher likelihood of a better outcome.
All this you would all this is centered around Tim, and you're creating this program as a dyslexic guy who went into the special forces at 30, who was failed by a doctor, for the lack of better words, right? And you took it upon yourself to figure this out for all of your freaking fellow troops.
Yeah, the only way I could move forward, Jeff, was in breaking my own isolation, was to focus on the people that would benefit as well. Now, in that experience, yes, I can say I stopped counting at 40. 40 veteran lives were saved. In fact, just 2 days ago, I was with my daughter having lunch, and this random veteran came over and said, hey, how you doing? And then he said to my daughter, your dad saved my life. And it was quite touching.
Yeah.
But the point here is, I was doing something that a lot of veterans do in that space, and that is I was using helping others as an opiate, as a pain relief to my own pain, like taking a Panadol. Do you guys have Panadol in the US? Yeah. Or,
I haven't had to do
or
prescription
aspirin,
stuff
like
like that.
taking an aspirin for a broken leg.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how, and what nobody knew, as much as I was doing all this incredible stuff, every 6 or 7 weeks, I'd have to get completely wasted for 3 days to sort of reset my own head, because it's not just because we did lose guys as well. It wasn't
Yeah.
just all sunshine and lollipops. Uh, and my saying these days is, I don't give of myself, I give of my abundance. And so my goal for people is to invest powerfully in themselves, create an abundance, and out of that abundance, give to others. Because I noticed, especially in the veteran space, and this is why I think I had to wipe myself out for 3 days every 6 or 7 weeks, is if I gave of myself, if I was just adequate, if I was at 100%, and, let's say I gave Jeff 10%, I'm like, Jeff, you better do something with that 10% I just gave you, because I'm down to 90%. I'd put attachments to energy that I gave to people. But let's say, as I do these days, I invest in myself. I create 500%. I can give 20% away a day. People can love it, hate it, tell me to F off. Don't matter. I'm in touch with something so much bigger than what can be taken. And that's quite a statement, saying you're in touch with something so much bigger than what can be taken, because we've all been taken from, we've all been hurt. And if I've got 50 cents and someone takes 25 cents, then holy crap, that's a big withdrawal. I've got to get that back. But if I'm at $1 million and someone takes 25 cents, and I've been that guy where you've taken 25 cents, I'm going to spend the next 5 years trying to get that 25 cents back. And I've denied myself earning that $1 million every single day. So my vision for everyone I work with is I want you to be an energetic millionaire. I want you to negotiate from the place of being an energetic millionaire. Someone can take, let them stay with it. You're in touch with so much bigger. Use that little experience to have you dive into your own resources. Because, I've been taken from, like other people. Hell, I had revenge plans in place. But I realized that person that took from me, like if you look at that as a chart of potential and growth, the person that took from me, yeah, sure, they took from me, but their growth, their strength is relative to how many victims they can find.
Yeah.
If I went after that person, the only reason they took is because they're a zero, so I'm not going to get anything back. But if I, instead of spending my energy going after that person, I'll invest in me, invest in me, invest in me. My potential isn't capped to the amount of victims I can find. So there's a great saying, make my enemies dust beneath my feet. So you invest in you, invest in you, invest in you, become so much bigger, higher, greater, stronger, more powerful. And then you don't know you got dust on your feet because it's dust on your feet. It's not even on your radar. And so it's been those real, I've understood it's not so much what I do, Jeff, that adds value to others. It's what we've all come through. It's what we've come through that gives us value to other people from their perspective.
This all tees you up to go and talk before your government, right? You were telling me this is kind of the path, right? Military, we come here, you start developing your programs, and I'm learning here, man. But this gets some substantial attention that you go before your parliament. Tell me about that, or what did that look like?
Yeah, sure. So I spoke in Parliament House on the back of, we did a royal commission into veteran suicide because it was quite a problem here. And one of there's actually, in the world of psychology, there's a title called a suicidologist. And one of the suicidologists, who was a mother of a veteran who committed suicide, was heading up the Royal Commission. And I was fortunate enough to work with her and give actionable feedback, interactions, and interviews for her to write her book. And she was launching her book with no small fanfare in Parliament House. And she actually asked me to speak there. And it was quite an honor for me to share, very similar to the way I've shared here. But and that was one occasion. But I'm a big fan of research done right, because research done right creates data, and data is freaking immortal. And it's not just immortal; it doesn't just go beyond your own timeline; it can be wrapped around the planet. So the work that we do with veterans with PTSD here in Australia can then be sent to the US and all these other places. So I work with a lot of the academia in these veteran research facilities. One here in Australia called the Gallipoli Medical Research, and I've helped create. Well, what my job is I'll hear what the academia, this is where my dyslexia goes into overdrive, in the way that I see the pattern in their technical talk. Then I can translate that and have, my community, the veteran community, and speak the language they need to hear and present the information in a way they need to hear it, but also intentionalize they're not just asking questions. What you're doing is getting them to create a better space for others. Because most people, if you ask, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I don't need help." "Well, do you want to help others?" "Yeah, yeah, I'll help others." You see how that works?
Yeah.
So
This,
part of my job was creating these online tools for not just veterans transitioning out of the military, but also for doctors to understand if a veteran is saying, "Hey, I'm having trouble sleeping," instead of just throwing a pharmacy at them, they've got resources and tools that will ask the veteran certain questions in their language that they'll understand, and they'll get an awareness of where the imbalance is. Because normally, if you say you got a problem, they'll say, "Look, here's a bunch of information," and if you boiled it all down, there might be two paragraphs that are relative to you. But if you're in a state of fatigue and isolation, there's no way you're going to even look at that. So what this program we created does is ask the veteran in their veteran language, and then gives them a result, and then gives them a very prescribed set of options. "Oh, yes, actually, that is true. That is true. I'm not socializing. I am not sleeping." Blah, blah, blah. There's a range of more options now available because of the what I should say. There's more options available when research is done right, and that data that is collected can then punch above the pay grade. It can go into governments, and I hope that answered the question. I get a bit
yeah.
tangenty sometimes, Jeff.
No, it's great. Yeah. No, you took me down. You took us down that whole journey of how you got there. Was it? Crap. I was going to ask you something along those same lines too, about just how everything's perceived. It's here's what I was going to ask you: how much coordination does the U.S. and Australia do on this? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I know the facilities have a lot of conferences they go to together, and I know that there is those conversations again above my pay grade, and of
Yeah.
course, how much of this is going to be implemented, I don't know. I can only, I've done my neck of the woods, and then it's up there. So what I'm doing currently is I've realized, look, I'm just one guy. How can what is the best thing I could do for other people? And my answer to that question is, Jeff, I can't do what you do, but if I can help you sleep better, you're going to
Yeah.
contribute your gifts even better. And the easiest, best way to do that is through breath work, as I've experienced it. And that's what I learned post divorce, when I was having those really shitty nights sleep. And even though I was a breathwork coach and I technically knew that breathwork would help me sleep better, but those stress weeds, those sentient stress weeds, they had me locked down. They were running the show. And I really came close to self harm. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a button you could press that would tell you to breathe a certain way, and it then completely relaxes your system? And
That's where
yeah,
your app is born, right? Is this where
yeah,
your app wrote? See, man, you're teeing me right up here for how this. It's like me and you scripted this, Tim. I'm serious. But that's where you took me to where I wanted to go. So keep going and
yeah.
but unpack
Oh,
the
look,
app. So tell us
if I
about
didn't
how
get,
your
yeah,
app was born.
if I didn't get divorced and lose everything, I wouldn't have had to tap into that deep part of me that worked when I really needed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mm.
um, when I discovered the power of it, when I was in the depths of it, I thought, if this genuinely works, I've got to create a way to make this accessible. So the breath work, and I'm not a technical person, right? So I thought, well, I've just got to make it as simple as possible. So this breath work in bed app, anyone with a phone can crack their phone. Put in 3 words: breath work in bed. It'll ask you 2 questions: when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up. And then we take care of the rest. Because when you're in a state of fatigue, you're like, look, here's what I want, just take care of it for me. And so guiding yourself to sleep with breath allows you to breathe, sleep more deeply and wake up feeling more refreshed. It's particularly handy for those people with chronic injuries like myself, because proper breathing uh, creates like an anti-inflammation effect. If you want to go by the idea that presence of oxygen is absence of disease. So even if you get to sleep okay and good, giving your body a big oxygen boost before it goes into its deep clean cycle is a really good idea. And then getting out of bed, that's the real game changer. So, your alarm might go off at whatever time, but if you've set your notifications, you'll see a notification on your phone that you just hit, press play, and then before you even get out of bed, you're told to breathe in, breathe out, open and close your hands, move your shoulders, massage your arm, all these little pressure points that, that waking feeling of feeling like lead, it literally gets transformed into gold. And I noticed that if I can set up those micro habits at the beginning of the day, and if I can make that easy and effortless, there's a higher likelihood I'm going to do that. So breathwork in bed is my attempt to give people those super powerful micro habits at their fingertips, on their phone, because if you can win the first 10 minutes of the day, you're probably going to win the day.
Yeah. I just pulled it up. I'll make sure that the world is aware, right? That's just too cool, all right? And then, um, you want to do some breath work now, or you want to wait
Yeah,
till the last?
absolutely. I would love, look,
All right, let's do that. Let's do your breath work. That ties us right into where we are, and then I got one more question I wanted to ask you, and then, but walk us through this, and that's what this is. All right, folks. If you've paused or you're trying to find this, this is where you're supposed to, or if you're fast
okay.
forwarding, this is where you're supposed to be.
Well,
Um,
well, Jeff, because I know what breathwork does and I know the power of it, what's probably going to happen is you're possibly so relaxed you're not even going to care about asking the question. All right. So my request is ask me the question now and we'll finish
then we'll
on the
finish with
breathwork. Okay.
yeah. So, all right. So two actually.
Sure.
First
Yep.
off, tell everybody how we can get in touch with you.
Sure.
Um,
Uh, breathwork in bed. Reach out through the website. I am available. I run workshops. I do one-on-ones. Um, of course, my company has socials, but the world doesn't need more things to look at. It needs a better night's sleep. So that's why I always push the app. So if you get nothing from this interview, you get a 28-day trial of the app, and good sleep has an accumulative effect.
yeah,
Okay. Think of everything you have in your life. The quality of those things is the quality of your sleep. Conversely, everything in your life suffers, including the people you care about, when you're not sleeping well. And if you can, like I said, work this for you, how many people in your life would benefit from a good night's sleep? I truly believe, Jeff, that if you care about somebody, you care about how they sleep, and it's not a conversation people really enter into. Like, how do I help other people that are sleeping? And if I was really getting to the heart of it, Jeff, imagine this. This is a possibility that I want to have happen in my lifetime. So imagine that the effectiveness of a government is measured by the quality of sleep of the population they govern,
yeah,
because that shit's measurable. You can build a car factory, you can make roads and maybe balance a budget, but are the people you govern sleeping peacefully in their beds at night? I personally think we owe them that much.
yeah. Thank you for letting us know that. Here's what I was going to get you. Here's where I wanted to kind of end it with us before we do our breath work. There's so many people, whether it's a fireman, a police officer, military operator, the store clerk, like we talked about earlier, Sally Mae, who's struggling. When you had those phone calls with those veterans, there's some relatability for these folks that are struggling and can't get out of their own way, or they're struggling to really maybe think about taking these steps or things like you're talking about. What's some advice that you can give that person who needs this?
Sure.
What's kind of that calling? What's that wake up call that you could just leave us with before we start into our breath?
Yeah, no, great question. I want to give you two things that will, because the thing is, people who are resistant to any kind of help are feeling alone and isolated. So the gold here is breaking their isolation. So there's a simple question you can ask, and that is, Sally, how many people do you think are in your situation right now? And ask for a number. And you'll be surprised what they say, because then and just give them about 10 seconds of silence for them to, you'll see their eyes going, oh, oh, oh. All right, that it'll really make them think, because they're pulling themselves out of that isolation in that time. And then ask, Sally, do you think if you could find a way forward for you, you could find a way forward for them? And it might take you a week, a month, a decade, but that's the amount of time you're going to be able to save them. And there could be people in your future you haven't even met yet. Really super glad that you started making decisions in 2025 that benefited them.
Yeah.
So that's the first conversation. The second one is a little more confrontational, and I own this myself. So what I say to somebody who is struggling, I say, look, I realize that I don't get the privilege of taking my hurt and pain into the grave. I pay that forward to my children. And if I don't have children, I'm paying it forward to everyone I know. So my pain and suffering doesn't disappear with me. It gets paid forward. In fact, some of the pain and suffering I'm feeling could be passed down from my ancestry because they chose not to resolve it. Now, I've never met my great-great-great-grandfather, but I'm pretty sure he was an angry dude, because anger has been a thing in my family. And I had to be the one to say, you know what? Anger ran in my family until it ran into me. I'm going to be the one to bring healing to my ancestors and my descendants.
That is why that's there. Is you're breaking that curse, breaking that curse of whatever the family laid in your lap. It stops with you, because it's not the case. Nah, man, kudos to you, man. Just absolute great job. I'm excited about some breath work. Thank you
Yeah.
for leaving us with that, because you're there's a lot of power in that, man. And you asked me earlier, like, what was that? What do we want them to get out of this episode? There you go. Right? Is we just want to make sure that this episode finds its way into the right people's hands, who's struggling with sleep, who don't realize what a big deal that it is and how it's affecting them. So this is absolutely the best way to wrap up this episode. Is with that action item for them. All right, Tim, walk us through a little
Yeah.
breath work, man. I'm
I'm
excited.
really
If
looking
I
forward to
if I
showing
fall off, I'm gonna hit unrecord. I'm gonna hit end. I'll call you tomorrow.
you. So all I'm going to request people to be is in a comfortable seated position, because this can be so relaxing that your mind and body can drift if you're not feeling supported. You don't want to be driving when you're doing this. You don't want to be cutting up carrots. I'm gonna use all my breathwork superpowers to make this as easy and effortless for you. You just have to give yourself permission to relax into this. There's no wrong way to do this. But because, Jeff, we've been breathing for however many years, that's a habit. All right. So to do something different, you got to give yourself a bit of time. So just relax into this, allow this new way of being to go through everything. And my desire for everybody is that the knowledge they're going to have after this is how to completely relax your system in 3 breaths, but not just yours. Imagine you being able to relax someone else's system in 3 breaths. Okay. So what I love about this, Jeff, is it's not me that's powerful. I'm connecting you to something powerful. The way I see myself as a breathwork coach, I'm introducing you to the love of your life. You are going to hold hands with this wonderful friend that's going to walk with you your whole life, be there when you need it, in the morning, in the evening, at 3 a.m. when your head's going a million miles an hour. I'm going to introduce you to somebody that you are going to be loving on, and they're going to be loving on you for the rest of your life. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
All right. So just breathe in and out. That's pretty easy, right? So now, Jeff, we're going to breathe in and then in again and again and again. So breathe in and breathe in again and again and again. And then just let that go. Now, did you notice a little bit of extra space opening up the top here?
Yep.
So let's try and smooth that together. Let's try and breathe in, but then breathe in again and again in a nice smooth way. So breathe in and really try and suck it up here. Awesome. Let it go. Now, Jeff, you've had your body your whole life, but you probably didn't know you've got these little turbo buttons in your fingers. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these turbo buttons to help this inhale to your top third. So we're going to call that top third inhale your secondary inhale. So your primary inhale and your secondary inhale. So when you get to your secondary inhale, you're going to hit those turbo buttons and notice how that boosts your secondary inhale. So I'm just going to invite everybody to blow it all out. Out, 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 out. Breathe in. When you're breathing in, hit your turbo buttons. And just let that go. Now, did you notice that hitting those little turbo buttons gave you an extra boost?
Yep.
Awesome. Now, some people feel a bit lightheaded, a bit happy, a bit of a smile on their face. Okay, because up here in our top third, this is where a lot of stuck energy occurs. Now, when I'm thinking negative, if you can see my side profile, I hunch over. Okay, I crush this top third. I hold all my tension here. So proper breathing gives you proper alignment. And so I call the secondary inhale the breath of possibility. When something's feeling impossible, if I've got shit in my head, I will snort deliberately and breathe into that breath of possibility. Okay, so let's just play with that. Breathe in, hit your power buttons, and really, with your mouth closed, kind of suck it as powerfully as you can through your nose. And then just let it out. And feel how it just gives you something you didn't have before when you power into that place and suck it through your sinuses.
Yeah.
And sucking it through your sinuses. Now, my fighting coach taught me that before you do a combination, do a big snort through your nose because you're oxygenating your sinuses and it goes straight through to your brain. Now, whether that's true or not, it seemed to work in combat. So when we breathe in, I want everyone to really snort through their nose. You ready?
Yep.
So blow it out. Get your power buttons ready. Breathe in, hit your power button, snort that nose. Wriggle it around, and then let it go. All right. How you feeling?
Good.
Okay. It's
like
about to get
air.
Yeah, it's about to get better. It's about to get better. So we've got our power buttons, which we've just discovered. We've got the breath of possibility. Now, think of your chin and your power buttons as a triangle. So we're going to open up that triangle as we push that chin to the ceiling and lean back. Okay, so if you look at my side profile, I'm going from forward leaning in, raising my chin, raising my chest as I'm hitting those power buttons. So you cool with that, Jeff?
Yeah.
So I invite everybody just to blow it all out. Let your head go forward. Start breathing in, then hit your power buttons, raise your chin, look at the ceiling, raise your chest, open your chest, open your chest. In, hold it. And I want you to wriggle your shoulders back and forth. Wriggle your shoulders, feel that chest opening up like a flower. That chest space is opening up, big, proud chest. And then I invite you to let it out with a sigh.
Got dizzy there.
Yeah.
That's a
There's
good one.
there's a if it's a bit like the first time you run around a block, it's like, oh my gosh, it's almost like too much.
Yeah.
But when this becomes the new normal, you'll be like, yeah, this is my new normal now. All right. So we're gonna do that in one nice smooth action. We're just gonna hit those power buttons, raise that chest, really snort it in, hold it, wriggle it, and it's quite important to let it out with a sigh. Cool with that?
Yep.
All right. So I invite everyone to blow it all out. Head forward, blow it all out. Start breathing in. Now, breathing in, hit the power button, snort through your nose, open the chest, leaning back, raise that sternum up. Now wriggle it around and feel like all that chest space is opening up, and let it out with a nice big sigh. All right.
It's new money right there, buddy.
Okay. And if you liked that, you're going to love what happens next. So when we're kicking around outside our home, wherever, and we want to self-regulate, we want to make the impossible possible. If I want to interrupt the shit that's going inside my head, this becomes my self-medication button. So I'll, and I do it discreetly when I'm in public, but this is my interruption to all the crap that goes on in my head. Okay. And you will notice when you change your structure, proper breath gives you proper alignment. And our power that we can generate is electrical. And our nerves carry that electricity. And our nerves are a bit like, the garden hose pipe. If you pinch the garden hose, there's less water coming through, less output. So when we're all hunched over like this, we're crushing our nervous system. So when we all of a sudden we open ourselves, we allow more energy through us, and we do become more powerful. All right. So this thing here, your power button, your interruption button, your button of possibility. And no one knows about this sort of stuff, Jeff, because no one's making money from it. It's not until you have a chronic problem that you realize we're not in an age of information. We're in an age of marketing. The first 6 pages of Google's are marketers. They want to sell you something. It's a big difference between a marketer and a healer. And my capacity as a healer, I know my energy is not enough for 2 people, but I'm connected to something really powerful. It might have taken me 10 years to create that mastery, but I can give it to you in far less time. And if everyone just gets this, your life is indefinitely changed. And not just you, think of all the other people that you could be impacting with this simple little technique. It's free, non-addictive, powerful, etc. Now, if you've enjoyed this, you're going to love what happens next. All right? I'm always smiling when I do this because shit's about to get real now, okay? So up here is our breath of possibility. And I'll use that when I'm kicking around the place or when I'm driving, okay? It's quite safe to, heighten your senses by snorting it through your nose. But this is why I'm requesting everyone to be seated or stationary, not driving or cutting up carrots for this next sequence. So we've done the big inhale and opening it, right? Divide your lungs into thirds, your top third, middle third, bottom third. And your bottom third, where your belly button is, that's where your alveoli, your air sacs of your lungs, have the most blood wrapped around them. The best gas exchange happens down here. So when I'm working with professional athletes, I'll show them how oxygen dissolves lactic acid, and I'll show them how to, accelerate their recovery time in between sets. But what we're going to use this for on this occasion is to generate peace, calm, and full relaxation of body and mind. So we're going to do the same thing where and let me just demonstrate this. We're going to breathe in, we're going to hold it, we're going to wriggle it, but this time we're going to wriggle it down our upper chest, middle chest, down to our belly. And our hands are going to be on our belly, and it's going to feel like a balloon. We're going to squeeze it down low right to where our belly button is, and we're going to try and push it out our mouth, but our mouth is going to stop it and just let out a like your tongue is on the roof of your mouth and it's coming out like a and the sensation is a bit like you've got a pressure cooker on the stove and you're letting a bit of gas out, like yep. So you have it pressurized and you're just bleeding out that pressure. All right. And this is as you have hunched over. Push it down low, let it out slow. I'll guide you through it. All right. So everyone's ready for this?
Yep.
So blowing it all the way out, 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 out. Start breathing in. Hit your power button, snort those nostrils, open up that chest, lean back, hold that air, wriggle that shoulders, feel how awesome it is to have a big, proud chest. Now, holding your breath, let your head fall forward, put your hands on your belly, put your hands on your belly, on your belly, on your belly, feel that going down low, let your head really hang forward, let your shoulders roll forward, and then pressurize it down low and let it out with a slow as possible. Let it out as slow as possible. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax like a deflating toy. Allow all the tension to fall out of your shoulders as you exhale, your arms. All that tension is falling away. Just like a deflating toy loses its tension, so our skin loses
like a balloon.
like a balloon.
Like a balloon.
All right. Okay. Now, we're going to do that 2 more times,
Yeah.
just so we can get a little bit of mastery, because it's the first time we do it, and I want people to have a little bit of repetition here. I'll also give you a link to this so you can get a tutorial for this afterwards to do it again
Yeah.
in your own time. But just for you to get the full experience and for the people at home to have a taste of it, we're going to do it 2 more times.
Cool.
Cool. All
Yeah,
right.
man.
And you'll notice that each time it'll feel better and better. That's the
Yeah.
whole good thing about breathwork. It just makes you feel better and better. There's no height to how good it can make you feel. There's no depth to the experience of it. All right. So having your power buttons ready, blow it all the way out, head forward, out, out, out. Breathing in, head up, chin up, hit your power button. Feel that breath of life straining through everything. Open up that chest, wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Feel like you've got a massive chest. Hold that breath. Let your head fall forward. Put your hands on your belly. Put your hands on your belly. Let your head go down towards your knees. And then let it out with a really slow and as that air slowly bleeds out of your mouth, allow your shoulders just to fall out of there. Just relax, back relax, neck relax. As you exhale, notice how everything is just delightfully deflating away from any tense state, leaving your shoulders, your face. And you can just hold, with your head hung forward for a little bit. And then when you're ready, just take another breath in. And this one really stretch out, nice, powerful, and gracefully, like a flower that's opening. Feels really good to be open and open. Now hold it and give it a nice stretch and wriggle like you're getting out of bed. Holding that breath and letting everything delightfully collapse down. Let your head collapse. Put your hands on your belly. Let everything be hunched forward. Feel that balloon of air in your belly. And let it out super slow. Push it down low, let it out super slow, and let the tension from your body just completely deflate. Tension leaving your shoulders, your neck, your face, all leaving your body with that exhale. And Jeff, I just invite you to keep your eyes closed and just sit in your chair. Allow that chair to take your weight. Sit back in that chair, lean back into it, and that chair was built to support you. Allow your muscles to feel supported. Feel what it is to have that chair support your weight. So often in our tension, we don't allow ourselves to feel supported, to feel held. It's like our tense muscles are trying to give us that sense of support, that sense of being held, but it doesn't work like that. Only when we truly let go of all that tension can we feel held, supported, safe. And I just invite you to take a few deep breaths into that chair, into those muscles, and feel how your breath is now super energized. And it's like you can breathe in for longer and out for longer. You've got this wonderful freedom of movement now. And whenever you're ready, I just invite you to put a hand on either shoulder, on both hands on either shoulder, and then take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just squeeze yourself. Give yourself a big squeeze. Exhale. Really give yourself a big squeeze. Put your hands further down your arms. Breathe in. And then I invite you just to squeeze down your forearms. Squeeze down your forearms. Feel like you're really crushing into your forearms. Okay? Feel how good it is to give those nerve endings a good massage. I invite you to put your hands together and squeeze them together like so, and just feel like you're squeezing out good juice from your own fingers. Right. Okay, and now I just want you to start flicking them like you're flicking off the bad energy. Flick as fast as you can. Flick it off. All that bad energy, flick, 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 flick. We're going to flick really fast for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now hold your fingers like you're holding a ball. like you're holding a ball. Now you feel that energy ball. Feel how dense and thick it is with your own positive energy.
Yep.
And we're going to just take a breath now and make that ball even bigger. So breathe in and make it really big. We're going to take another breath and make the ball so big. This is a golden glowing ball in front of us. We're going to make it so big that it covers our whole body. So we're inside this glowing ball, and it's thick with positive golden energy. And now we're going to breathe in and push it back inside our heart. We're going to breathe in and push it back in. All that good energy, and push it around the place. Push it to one side, push it up, push it down, push it up and down your spine. All that good energy is inside of you now, and let it out with the most delightful sigh.
All that comes with a nap. Man, that's awesome. That's some good work. Do you get good responses out of that? You have to. Oh, you have to, because it's overlooked, man. It's been a long time since I had somebody, but it's been a couple months. I had another guest walk me through some different breath work. That was good. Hers is good. Yours is amazing, dude. Like it's man, it's really, really, really good. I can't thank you enough for just taking an extra 10, 15 minutes to do that with us.
You know, Jeff, we have bodies. We all do. But it's amazing how little we know of we don't know how much they can give us. We don't know how powerful our own resources are. And once you get guided to how you can access those amazing resources, imagine before you even leave your house, you just give yourself everything you've ever really wanted.
Yeah.
You know, the day becomes a victory lap. I have everything I need right here, and I'm going to affirm that every single day. And we can give that to ourselves. And if, you know, obviously, if you want to have that loving relationship enhanced twice a day, I've got something to help that. But if you just get what we just did and start integrating that, just watch the impact it's going to
Yeah.
have on you and on others. Have
Yeah.
it in your back pocket. Whenever someone's freaking out, have it there for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to check out the app as well. Man, I'm super grateful just for, man, I'm pissed off that it took us this long to connect, right? To,
We
to,
should do this again in 3 or 4 months. Would you like
yeah,
that?
no,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
send you the Calendly link. Just jump back
yeah,
on. Like you,
yeah.
you,
No, that'd
you
be good.
you're playing your stuff. Talk to the wife. Are you guys gonna have a Vegemite sandwich today for lunch? Maybe you can picture my idea about being on and talking about Tim's shenanigans with me sometime.
That would be interesting. That would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
interesting.
it would help it put it all in perspective, right? Maybe, I don't know. It also might be some trigger stuff that we don't want to go down because she's probably, um, you're so much different than I am, but we're so much alike when it comes to just destructive behaviors and how that's affected women in our lives. And I am 100% with you on that. My wife has been super instrumental in helping me kind of just navigate through things that I didn't realize were things.
Oh, and just on that, part of the Breathwork in Bed app, you've got couples breathwork,
Yeah,
where
there
there
you
was a
go.
technique you do with your partner. Because I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful instead of drinking half a carton of grog before I speak to my then wife? Wouldn't it? I would have really loved to have a breathwork technique to connect me on a very deep level
Yeah,
to my partner. So in there is couples breathwork as well.
man, that's awesome. I'll send you the link. I'm gonna post everything. We'll get this thing rolling. I can't thank you enough. I'm excited to just follow along with your progress and how this thing goes. And your mission and all the stuff that you're doing to help your veteran groups. And I can't wait to share it with my friends, in public safety, military as well, just about your mission and about what you do.
Oh, the mission, if I was to give it a number, is 50,000 people getting a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
And that benefits everybody.
man,
The
that's
you know,
awesome.
yeah. So 50,000 by end of 2025, getting a good night's sleep, connecting to themselves, connecting to others. And it's been an absolute honor being on here, Jeff. And
Yeah.
I really
We'll
have
leave it with
appreciated.
this. We'll leave it with this because we never know. Here's my what would be my challenge is if you once you listen to this episode, tag a friend. It helps Tim reach his numbers, but then let us know that you're doing the work. Like tag in, just like hey, you don't have to tag Jeff, but just tag into the episode or wherever you're seeing this. Let Tim know that you're doing the work, so he can say, hey, this is my impact, and it helps him feel his impact of what we're trying to accomplish here. Good. That's
Yeah. Well, it's
hopefully you'll
funny.
give us some data for measurables, Tim.
No, absolutely. And just you watch when if you say something like this in a large group of people, say, "Oh, I got an amazing sleep last night." You'll see all these people looking at you.
Yeah.
Go, "Oh, someone's got something I want," And so that's where we can you actually start seeing it's kind of everywhere. And if you've got options for people, then yeah, great, awesome.
Cool. All right, brother. Appreciate you being on. Can't wait to see you soon.
No worries.